All right. So off to you, John Paul.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for making the time today to join us to talk a little bit about Powerschool. So I wanted to hand the floor to our partners at identiMetrics to kick us off today to talk about that extended ecosystem I just mentioned and how we can combine the functionality of the Powerschool student information system with a tremendous offering from the identiMetrics team to really streamline workflows and processes around HB 410. So I'm going to stop sharing and hand the floor over to the identiMetrics team.
Good morning, and thank you. I'm Dr. Jay Fry, President and CEO of identiMetrics. I'm also a former principal of a school of over 1,000 students. Every day we were putting out fires related to student and staff identification that resulted in a tremendous waste of time and frustration for my teachers and staff. That's why I created identiMetrics, which is now the #1 biometric ID provider in K-12 education. What used to take office staff hundreds of hours a year to manage now takes hardly any time. Nationwide, more than 1 million students are using biometrics every day for attendance in the classroom or at the door, in the cafeteria, and throughout their schools. identiMetrics, a longtime partner of Powerschool, has 4 types of attendance plugins that were specifically designed to work with Powerschool: meeting attendance, daily attendance, tardy attendance, and minute-based attendance. They can be used with finger scanning or barcode scanning. Today, I want to talk about minute-based attendance as it relates to House Bill 410. Joining me is Tina Dunphy, our Director of Product Support and Implementation, who is going to take a deeper dive into identiMetrics' minute-based plugin for Powerschool, and also Rob Woods, Associate Principal of Avon High School in Ohio. Rob is an identiMetrics champion and gave us tremendous guidance and direction when we were developing our plugins for Powerschool. Rob's going to talk about his tardy and discipline issues and the identiMetrics Powerschool solution. As you know, House Bill 410 encourages and supports a preventative approach to excessive absences and truancy. Attendance research strongly suggests that school attendance influences students' success. And in fact, attendance is the #1 predictor of dropout and graduation rates, and COVID-19 has increased the problem. Monitoring your absence and tardy data in real time is key, so you have the tools to engage in early warning procedures and continuous improvement. The identiMetrics attendance plugins for Powerschool are powerful technology tools so you can use your data effectively to identify at-risk students, change outcomes, improve attendance, and maximize learning. And now, Tina Dunphy is going to show you how the minute-based plugin works. Tina?
Thanks, Jay. I'm so happy to be here today to demonstrate the interoperability of identiMetrics with Powerschool. The identiMetrics minute-based plugin, specifically designed for Powerschool, provides an automated and fully integrated attendance solution that allows you to record your students' attendance down to the exact number of minutes each day with a touch of a finger. It completely transforms and simplifies the attendance process. A simple scan returns all of your mission-critical attendance data in under 2 seconds for every single student. Single scan, minutes recorded, and directly written to Powerschool. No need to import any data from another application. No need for time-consuming manual processes that can take up to 5 minutes for each student. When a student scans their finger, all attendance activity and direct input to Powerschool happens in about 2 seconds. The list of things going on in that lightning fast moment include the exact timestamp is automatically assigned to the student attendance record that is then used by Powerschool to calculate the minutes of daily attendance. An attendance code is automatically assigned to the student attendance record. A hall pass is generated listing student-specific configurable information. The total number of tardies is documented and updated. A consequence or an action is assigned correlating to the total number of tardies that student has incurred. And the parent or guardian is alerted to the attendance change. And all of this essential data is available in an easy to access reporting tool, allowing you to share with your attendance team in real time. And did I mention that all this happens automatically and in less than 2 seconds? Your data is 100% accurate, your process substantially simplified and improved. It's a game changer. So let's take a look at the smooth flow of the identiMetrics attendance process. The page that you see in front of you is the identiMetrics student attendance scan page for Powerschool. So I need everyone to pay close attention to the screen, specifically the green boxes. And here's what you're going to see next. You're going to witness what happens when a student scans, and in that lightning fast moment, all the attendance activity and recording will be completed. Okay, so now pay real close attention to the screen, because if you blink, you might miss it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to scan my finger. Okay, just like that, all the attendance recording is complete. So let's break down the components of what just occurred. Here's the slip that was generated with the configurable options listed. And if you look down to the last 2 lines, you can see the total number of tardies and the pre-assigned consequence for the number of tardies our friend Nick has just incurred. Again, you can see the total number of tardies and the pre-assigned consequence for the number of tardies Nick has incurred in the bottom of this slip. Now we're going to move back over to the scan page where we see, here we go, over to the scan page again, where we see that our poor friend Nick now has added yet another tardy to his collection for a new total of 13. Definitely not Nick's lucky day. And here's the attendance recording where the timestamp with the precise time that Nick scanned in was automatically recorded to his attendance record, calculating the exact number of minutes Nick is attending school that day, along with the appropriate attendance code. What you don't see is the email and the text alert that also went to Nick's parents to let them know that he had an attendance change. And all of that occurred in the lightning fast moment that the student scanned. The touch of a finger records your student's attendance down to the minute. The setup is effortless. The attendance page is super easy to use. The identiMetrics Powerschool solution transforms the attendance culture. Now I'm going to pass this over to Rob Woods. He's going to talk to you about the identiMetrics Powerschool solution in his district, how it was a huge agent for a positive change, and how it all began.
Thanks, Tina. So I'm Rob. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I got to start out by saying, you just heard from Tina and Jay. They have skin in the game. They don't pay me anything. I don't get paid, but let me tell you what an amazing product they have and walk you through some things. So just to give you a little background about myself, I've been an administrator for 9 years. We're up in the Cleveland area. I taught at Solon High School for 5 years and then was an assistant principal on the east side of Cleveland. Now I'm an associate principal on the west side and going to be a principal of Westlake High School next year. And first of all, Powerschool plug. I don't work for them either, but I'll tell you, I've worked in schools with Progress Book, Dazzle, Infinite Campus, and now we're a Powerschool team over here. Powerschool by far is the workhorse out of all of those, and I wouldn't tell you any other difference, the best bang for your buck. So there you go, Powerschool. But, a couple years ago, I don't do student discipline anymore in my role, but we had just hired 2 new assistant principals. We were coming into August, and every year I racked my brain about the mindless discipline, right? The tardies that are coming in. I'm not affecting change by getting the stack of lists of slips that I got to call down a kid. My league leader's hitting 45 tardies on the year. Clearly not making a difference here. And all the while you got your superintendent telling you need to be an instructional leader and get out in the classes, and you're stacked up against your email and so forth. So it always bothered me about how can we streamline this process? How can we make it different? How can we improve it? And watching your attendance secretary, go through and honestly just the simple handwriting of passes seemed logistically taking more time than what they needed to devote to. And already here in Ohio, and I'm sure across the country, you're strapped, right? So you're bare bones in your main office. Everyone is working at 100%. So I started looking around, and I knew that I wanted a solution that involved biometrics. You know, I didn't want the ID card that could get lost, the ID number typing in on a keypad that kids might change. So when I started looking, I was lucky enough to stumble upon identiMetrics, and I found them based on the Powerschool partner page, interestingly enough. Called a woman named Tina, started talking to her about her product there and seeing how we could do it. And they had something, but the one thing that I can tell you about this identiMetrics team that I don't think you heard from them is their amazing ability to listen to their customer. And so I talked with Tina and Anne Marie and Eden and Jay and the team over there and said, hey, look, you guys have something great, but this is how it would work in a real school. This is what you really need. And to their credit, they listened to everything I said and built an amazing product. So now, instead of, you know, the kids coming in late, the secretary's writing passes, yada, yada, they come in, they put their fingertip on the thing, and you saw Brian shared that video. It got a little glitchy there, so you couldn't even appreciate the real time of it, but it is literally lightning fast. Prints the slip and they come out. You know, I was walking the hall coming in from the parking lot this morning, directing traffic. Kids were late, and I happened to be following a group of girls, and they're looking at their pass at the bottom saying, oh man, I got one more tardy till I get a detention. You know, it's become a way of life. Before, as administrators on this call, you know, your assistant principals would have a stack of slips that they'd have to call the kids down. They'd have to warn them, give them detention, send letters. Instead, you have this completely automated process that all feeds into Powerschool. Now, the other time-striking thing, at least here in Ohio, and I think it's spreading across the country, is HB 410. So HB 410, legislators had this genius idea that we should track kids to the minute. Fortunately, they didn't share that genius idea until they passed the legislation, basically, and all these software companies like Powerschool had to catch up. And so it made sense on paper, and I happen to be lucky enough to work with Senator Nathan Manning and his mom, Gail Manning, who are actually based out of North Ridgeville up here in Cleveland, Ohio. They are on the Education Committee and were fundamental in HB 410. It's a great piece of legislation at the outset, right? It makes total common sense. Why, when my kid went to the doctor 5 years ago, it would be a half day out. No, that doesn't make any sense. He missed an hour of school, right? So I get it from the legislator's perspective. You needed to track it to the minute. Unfortunately, with that, as you know, and some of you schools that are on this call might still be experiencing this, software wasn't built to keep up to track a kid to the minute. So all of a sudden, my attendance secretary had different tabs on her computer open that literally were calculating time for her, because she's looking down the pipe at 10 different kids coming at her saying, you know, I've got to leave early, I've got to do this, and trying to calculate the math in her head, especially at a high school level where every kid has a different schedule, right? I've got kids going CCP, kids on release, you know, and different options that they're doing. It was a total mind bend and totally time consuming for her. So what's beautiful about identiMetrics in this plugin is that it completely integrates with Powerschool and can read that kid's schedule. So once they put their finger on there and they're signing out to go to the doctor, it will automatically calculate when that kid is actually done with school for the day and put their time clock in and append the comment that you need it to do. Right there, it sells itself. It's an amazing product in terms of logistically making things easier and quicker to go through your day in that. So with HB 410, those requirements came in, but it actually, with identiMetrics pairing and creating this amazing product, it made it possible for you to actually correctly calculate those things. The other thing, we came into this year, and I have it off, right? We all do because we're all sitting in our offices alone. But we came into this year, everybody wearing this. And if you actually work in a school, you now realize that no kid even speaks to you anymore. It's funny, you go down the hallways and you'll say good morning to them. And now that they have this on them, there's nothing coming out, and you walk in classrooms and your teachers you see it, that there's no talking. So now imagine that kids are coming in late, and without identimetrics, your attendance secretary, I can hear from my office sometimes back a couple years ago yelling, "What's your name? What's your name?" Right? Because now they're coming to you like what? And that you have your secretary yelling at them at this. Totally cuts it out, because all that kid has to do is take their finger, put it on the finger scanner, and bam, they're in Powerschool. That secretary knows exactly who that kid is without having to scream at him, especially when he's coming in late, because that doesn't end well. So it's just an amazing product, and I can't tell you enough how awesome the identimetrics team is in terms of listening to someone in the actual field, living it day by day and going through those things. And I've been lucky enough, like I said, to work closely with attendants from the legislative side and actually from the school side and working through it. And this product is truly amazing. And the price is even more amazing in terms of what it is, because when I picked it, I wasn't going for the Cadillac. You have other products out there that really will do everything. They'll do your visitor management. They'll check to see if people are on the criminal watch list. And that's just not feasible, nor do I need it in a particular school, especially at a high school level. And so identimetrics is really the best bang for your buck in terms of what you need.
All right. Thanks, Rob.